This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Now this video's been a long time coming. A couple of years ago I did a video about the first solo in the song Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. I'll link to that video down in the description, by the way. I think I said at the time that I would get round to doing the outro solo. So here we are, a couple of years later, I've finally got round to doing it. Coming up next, you're going to hear the solo, me demonstrating it, and then a brief explanation as to what's going on in the solo. Here it is. Okay, so what we're dealing with here, well, as always, let's begin by looking at the chord sequence, which goes B minor to A, G, down to E minor, and then back to B minor again. Very strong B minor tonality, so he's going to be using B minor pentatonic, and that's a huge, huge part of the solo. There are only two notes that aren't in the B minor pentatonic in this solo, and they both occur only fleetingly. We'll talk about those more in a second, but let's have a look at the bedrock of this solo, which are a couple of B minor pentatonic patterns. One that goes like this, and a variation on that where we just kind of don't do the upper extension up here, where it's basically that, okay? Most of the solo, I would say well over 3/4 of the solo, is based around those two shapes. And even when he isn't using those two shapes, he's still using B minor pentatonic, just in other locations on the neck. Now, as I said, there are two notes from outside the B minor pentatonic that he uses fleetingly in the solo. The first one is the C sharp note. Why C sharp? Well, we've got an A chord that's going on in here, and that has a C sharp note in it. He doesn't play this one here, but he plays this one an octave higher. And probably the only time I can think of off the top of my head where we actually use that note is for this lick. So you're bending the C sharp up to the D, okay? And then he does that later, towards the end of the solo, an octave higher, where you've got this series of licks. like that. And again, he's taking the C sharp and bending it up a semitone to the D note. So what's the other note that's in this solo that isn't from B minor pentatonic? Well, it's the old blue note, the flat fifth, the raised fourth, whatever you want to call it. And he tends to use that here. Okay, so, you know, just as like a little chromatic run as he's coming down that string of notes there. And that occurs mainly in what is often thought of, I think of anyway, as one of the signature licks in this solo. A lick which goes like this. And he plays that lick several times. Here it is again, nice and slow. And there's another variation on that later on in the solo where he comes out of it slightly differently. I think it's something like this. Where there's just a few extra little kind of bits and pieces in the middle there before descending. And the thing that makes that lick work and what makes it so powerful is that it's using a very, very effective technique called scale sequencing. And scale sequencing is, well, let's take this A note here. It's best if I just describe it and show you. Let's take this A note here. And what I'm going to do is come down 3 notes of the B minor pentatonic from that A. So it's going to go like that. Okay. Then I'm going to not go back to the A, but I'm going to go to the note below the A in the scale, which is this F sharp here. And then I'm going to come 3 notes down the scale from that note. And then the note below the F sharp in the scale is the E note. So I'm going to come 3 notes down the scale from that note. And then the note below that is the D. So I'm going to come down 3 notes from that. So I can start getting all kinds of rather nice sounding little runs based upon those overlapping groups of 3. And as I say, he uses that in several licks in the solo. And the final thing that I'm going to point out in this little breakdown is something, again, he does multiple times in the solo, which is where he will take the B note. Here, specifically this one, I think it's the one he tends to do it on the most. This B note at the 12th fret on the B string, the root note of the B minor pentatonic, and he bends it up 3 frets. So it's reaching the D, which is the minor third of the scale. So okay, nice thing to practice that, getting the bend all the way up and then adding a bit of vibrato to it if you can. Like that. This is something that Mr. Gilmore does tend to like to do a lot, and if you take a look at the solo from, say, Another Brick in the Wall, there are 3 and 4 fret bends going on there. It's something of a characteristic of his sort of playing. So there you go. That is a brief rundown of what's going on in the solo. See if you can nail some of those licks for yourself. And the full tab for that solo, along with the jam track to play along with, is up on my Patreon page. There's the address right there, link in the description. You get the tab in both PDF and Guitar Pro formats. And as I say, you also get the jam track, and you get that little clip that you've just seen there of me demonstrating and explaining the solo. So, you know, lots to get your teeth into there. It's only $3 a month, and you get all of this additional content that goes along with these YouTube lessons that I put up. I usually do a couple of solos a week that are tabbed out with jam tracks and stuff like that. So it's a great way to get some new licks under your fingers and help me keep the lights on around here. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, there's all kinds of ways you can do that. You can enroll on courses and stuff, and all the links are downstairs in the description. Check them out, and thank you in advance if you're going to do that. And that's pretty much all I've got for you today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you found it useful and informative. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. I'll just remind you that we have a live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time, where we just sit around and kick off the weekend with a few beers and a bit of a chat, and it's a great way, as I say, of kicking off the weekend. I'd love to see many of you there if you're so inclined. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you for watching, thank you for your time, stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now, folks.